You ever find an old gift card stuffed in a drawer, maybe with a few dollars left on it? Yeah, it feels like nothing, right? Well, what if I told you that those forgotten bucks, when you multiply them by the millions, are part of this bizarre legal loophole that funnels billions of dollars into the economy of just one tiny state? Okay, this is a wild story, so let's get right into it. So, first things first, before we can unravel this whole mystery, you gotta understand just how huge the gift card industry really is. Because honestly, the numbers are just jaw-dropping. That's it, nearly $200 billion. That's what Americans spend on gift cards every single year. That is more than every other type of gift combined. And with that much money sloshing around on these little plastic cards, you know some of it is gonna get lost in the couch cushions, so to speak. And look, we are not just talking about spare change here. In 2021, Starbucks was sitting on over $181 million in unused credit. When Radio Shack went belly up, it had $46 million in gift cards that were never redeemed. We're talking about a mountain of cash. So this brings us to the big question, right? Where does all that forgotten money actually go? Now, the common sense answer is that the company just keeps it. But the real answer? Oh, it's way more complicated and frankly, a lot weirder than that. The truth is that unused money doesn't just stay with Starbucks or whatever company issued the card. Instead, it gets snapped up by the state. But, and this is the crazy part, it's not the state where you bought the card. It's not even the state where you live. In a truly strange twist, a huge portion of all the unclaimed gift card money from all across the U.S. gets legally seized by the second smallest state in the whole country, Delaware. And the people who live there, well, they benefit from this in a big way. And this is where it starts to sound like a paradox. Delaware has no sales tax. It has one of the lowest property tax rates you can find. So you'd think they'd be broke, right? Nope. Despite not collecting taxes like other states, they spend more money per person than all but 3 other states. How is that even possible? The system works so well that one source came up with this perfect analogy. They said Delaware is basically like a tiny oil-rich emirate, but instead of oil, its incredibly valuable natural resource is America's financial leftovers, things like your unused gift cards. So how on earth did this happen? It wasn't some grand conspiracy. It was really just an accident, the result of a really old legal concept crashing into a Supreme Court case that had no idea it was about to create a financial superpower. Okay, so the concept is called escheatment. It's a mouthful, I know, but the idea is pretty simple, and it was originally designed for physical stuff, like if someone passes away and has no will and no heirs, the state takes custody of their house so it doesn't just fall apart. The state is supposed to be a temporary caretaker, right? But things get really weird when the property isn't a house, but, $5 digital on a gift card. The whole thing really crystallized in 1965. You had 4 different states all fighting over the same 26 grand in unclaimed paychecks from Sun Oil. The Supreme Court had to step in and make a rule, and they landed on a 2-part compromise. Part 1, the money goes to the state of the owner's last known address. Makes sense. But, and this is the part that changed everything, if there's no known address, it goes to the state where the company is legally incorporated. And there it is. That is the billion-dollar connection. Just think about a gift card for a second. Who's the owner? The person who bought it? The person who got it as a gift? Nobody knows their address. So in the real world, that first rule almost never applies. The money almost always goes to the second rule. It belongs to the state where the company is registered. Which, you guessed it, leads to the next big question. Why does it feel like literally every major company in America is registered in Delaware? Let's just look at the raw numbers. Here are the Fortune 500 companies registered in a few big states back in 2018. Virginia has 11, Ohio has 16, New York has 20. All pretty respectable numbers for large, important states. Okay, you ready? Now let's add Delaware to that chart. Wow, it is not even a competition. Over 300 of the Fortune 500 are incorporated there. Something like 95% of businesses that incorporate outside their home state pick Delaware. So why? What is their secret? Well, it boils down to 4 main things. First, taxes. They offer huge breaks on things like logos and patents. Second, speed. You can literally form a company in half an hour. Third, anonymity. You don't even need to give a name. And fourth, and this is the big one, the Chancery Court. It's a special legal system just for corporations, run by expert judges, not juries. For big business, that kind of predictability is pure gold. So Delaware attracts all these companies, and then it uses that escapement law to collect all their unclaimed cash, like from gift cards. It sounds pretty clever for them, but this whole system has created some really serious consequences for everybody else. Delaware has become incredibly aggressive about this. They hire these outside auditing firms that just hammer companies with these huge estimated bills. And if a company can't produce like 2 decades of records to prove them wrong, they're forced to pay up. And get this, while other states actually try to return this money, Delaware only gives back about 2%. It spends the rest. It's gotten so extreme that a federal judge famously said the state was engaged in a game of gotcha that shocks the conscience. I mean, when a judge uses language like that, you know something is seriously out of whack. The bigger picture here is that by creating this super attractive environment for corporations, Delaware has kicked off a race to the bottom. All the other states have to try and compete. And what that means, effectively, is that one state with just 0.3% of the U.S. population gets to set the rules for American corporate law, and it benefits them at the expense of everyone else. And the fallout from this goes way beyond our borders. This whole system of corporate secrecy and financial games has earned the United States a very dubious international ranking. Number 1. That's right. Largely because of the model Delaware built, the U.S. now ranks number 1 on the Financial Secrecy Index. We're ahead of the classic places you think of, like Switzerland or the Cayman Islands. This system has arguably made the U.S. the best place in the entire world to hide money. Which brings us right back to where we started. That forgotten gift card in your junk drawer. On its own, it's just a tiny, insignificant piece of plastic. But when you see how it's woven into this massive, complex system of state finances, corporate law, and even global secrecy, it makes you wonder, what is the real cost of forgetting?